Hello, everyone. My name is Lynn McEntee. Welcome back to the second session of Spotlight on Community, a new series through Moksha Canada Foundation. Very excited to meet up again with Stephanie McCoy from Bold Blind Beauty and Aille Design, Alexa Jovanovic. Thank you both for joining us here today and picking up the conversation where we left off with our lovely guest as well, David Onley. Thanks a lot for being here today.
Thank you so much for having us both.
I'm so excited.
Thank you.
Thank you. It's our pleasure. And we have some wonderful guest attendees who will be here to listen in and perhaps field some questions your way. So yes, we were talking about accessibility in our last session and very engaging. We actually ran out of time. We felt we needed to do a second session. So here we are with you. We talked about policy. We talked about change. Moving forward, what we can do, but I'd like to shine light on your work and all the wonderful things you're doing moving forward, educating our public with the work that you do. So I will start out with you for Alexa Jovanovic for Aille Design, because then we're going to lead into how you met Steph through Bold Blind Beauty. All right, so tell us a little bit about yourself.
Of course. Thank you, Lynn. So as you mentioned, my name is Alexa Jovanovic, and I'm the founder of Aille Design. And we've been in business for about a year now. We started selling product about a couple months ago, starting in the summer. But before being a company, we were actually a research project. So I studied at Ryerson University. I studied fashion communication. And while I was in school, I was exposed to different professors who were quite passionate about inclusion, equity, and diversity, and learning about that in a fashion context. Prior to coming to Ryerson, I was not familiar at all with the importance of inclusive fashion or lack thereof in the actual industry. And so those classes really helped to shape my overall perspective and really motivated me to use my new skill sets within fashion to be able to create that change that just wasn't existent. So for my final capstone, started working very closely with various individuals who identify as being blind or visually impaired. And we would talk about the different challenges relating to fashion. So anything from standard clothing identification and choosing what to wear and staying on top of trends and in fashion, to everything relating to more of the social experiences. So the misconceptions relating to what it looks and feels like to be blind. I was shopping. I've always loved beaded clothing. So that's usually straight where I walk to when I go into a store. And this time when I saw a beaded jacket, it was different than all of the others. Something happened and I made the connection between the similarity in small size beads and Braille. And I had this aha moment where I wondered that if we just moved all of this beading ever so slightly, we could create phrases that were actually functional. They would still remain beautiful. They would still look like a beautiful beaded design, but it would have all this function and it could empower an entire community. So I came up with this idea, started doing research, nothing remotely like it existed, created the prototype, and then started working directly with the community to see if this was a product that was needed and go through some of those other challenges of fashion. Stephanie, who's a guest here, is the founder of Bold Blind Beauty, and her blog is actually one of the very first pieces of research that I came across while I was studying at Ryerson and doing this specific project. I was in complete awe when I came across the blog, all of the different stories that she shared of so many different people. And it was just incredible to know how many people were already challenging these stigmas that exist with disability, and especially with fashion and blindness. There's so many misconceptions that when you have low vision that you just don't care about what you look like because you can't see what you look like. But that's completely untrue. And it's also important to note that with visual impairments, there's a huge spectrum. There's levels of sight where you might be able to still see some elements of fashion. So there are certain parts that you can appreciate, but even if you can't see at all, you can still appreciate your fashion. It's not about sight, it's about how it makes you feel and being able to have access to something that allows you to express yourself. So I was learning so much about these different women who were challenging these fashion norms through Bold Blind Beauty. And to know now that Steph and I are friends and that our companies work together, it's a dream come true. I reflect on it all the time, thinking how far we've come and how we've now grown into this business. So I'm so honored that Steph was able to join here and to be able to have such support from the community on what we're doing. So now we've evolved into a company. The community is still involved in everything that we do. So all of our products are created through a co-design process. So that means we decide the different braille phrases together. We decide the types of clothing, the colors. The community is largely involved in our marketing material. So everything from how we communicate our products to being in the actual visuals that we're creating. And we're hoping to also be able to extend that further and involve the community directly in the manufacturing of our pieces. So we're really working hard to change what it means to have disability related to fashion, and being able to do that in more than just the actual product itself, but also be able to include the community every step of the way in these additional job opportunities and really increase the representation within modeling and marketing materials. But then similar to what we were talking about with David, making sure that all of these fashion events and spaces are then accessible. So if there's a store that's selling wheelchair accessible clothing, that store better be able to fit wheelchairs comfortably and be able to have product level to be able to easily access different items. So really making sure to go through all those processes and consulting, it's really what we're all about. So being able to work so closely with Steph and other individuals in the community that we've met through Steph and the blog has been really fantastic. So that's a little bit about what we're doing and how we met Steph and how thrilled we are about the future that we have together.
Oh, wow. Alex, I'm just so inspired. Each and every time I talk to you, and I feel in the presence of Steph as well, I just inspired by the work that you're doing and just the positive changes that are being made. So that is so cool. Thank you. I'll let Steph jump in. And Steph, could you speak to your lived experiences and how important that is to you as a blind woman, but also as a businesswoman, as a mother, in your
Sure.
family as well? Yeah, thank you.
Sure. One of the things I want to touch on that Alexa forgot to mention is actually a couple of our members of our community are models for Aille Design as well, which is huge, huge, because what Alexa has done, and I think a lot of other companies can learn from what she has done, she has, from the moment of conception, included us in the process. And that's important. And it's something that we talk about a lot on Bold Blind Beauty. Nothing for us without us. So when you're developing anything, a product, a service, a website, whatever it might be, if it is for people with disabilities, you want to make sure that you have people within the disability community involved in that project to help you think through all of those things, because that's going to help you to alleviate some of those problematic issues like Alexa had talked about, the store that might have a sign that says wheelchair accessible, and that might very well be, but once you go in the store, there might be problems where the items aren't easily accessible for the individual who's in the wheelchair. So that's a disconnect. That's where that particular store did not totally think through that entire process. It begins at the very beginning. And I think a lot of people, and honestly, I didn't know it until I got here where I'm at right now today as a blind woman. I didn't understand, what it was, how a blind person lived their life. And why would I? It wasn't my story. I only knew one other blind person, and she was a friend of mine when I was growing up. And I remember going to the movies with her when we were young. We were just kids, but we'd go to movies on a Saturday. And I remember sitting there. This was before audio description. And without prompting or anything, I would just tell her what was happening on the screen, right? So audio description for me, this is just one other area of blindness that I wasn't aware of until it happened to me. Audio description to me is like having your best friend sit next to you and they're telling you what is happening on the screen. They're describing all those visual elements that you aren't able to, fully understand because you can't see them. So, oh dear, I did it again. I lost my train of thought.
And how important it is for a description, enabling.
Yes,
Yes, yeah.
yes. So all of these things, come together to, help us be able to do the things that we need to do. So as far as my life experience as a blind person on a day-to-day basis, again, I wouldn't have known what it was like until I began going through it. But I remember very clearly one situation when I was watching my little grandson shortly after he was born. He needed some medicine and his parents had left it with me. I did have a video magnifier, but unfortunately, um, magnification sometimes only works as good as, the magnifier that you're using. And the text that I needed to magnify was so tiny that it couldn't make it large enough for me to be able to read it. And I remember in that moment just feeling so helpless and scared and not knowing what to do because, he was crying, he was in pain. I think he was teething, and it was some sort of teething something or another. And I just wasn't familiar with it because it was something newer that wasn't out when my kids were little. So I really needed some help. And what I ended up doing, of course, is I called someone to help me through that process. But if had I been able to see, I would have been able to do that independently. But because I couldn't, I needed that extra help. And it's just one example of things that I come across on a day-to-day basis as a blind person, where I have to constantly adapt and I have to think of ways to overcome and be able to do whatever it is that I need to do. I'm on from the moment I get up in the morning until I go to bed at night. My brain is constantly processing. And that's in addition to doing the regular things like, just living. So, never knowing quite what's happening when I'm outside of my comfort zone, which is my house where I live. When I'm outside of my house, it's even heightened because you never know what's going to be coming at you, and you can't control everything, right? So if I'm in a store, and I'm very, very seldom by myself when I go to a store, like one of my sons will take me. But once we're in this store, if it's a store I'm familiar with, they'll leave me to my devices, which I'm usually pretty fine with. However, if other shoppers are around or whatever, I can't control them. They don't know that I can't see. And sometimes it leads to some interesting sort of conversations, shall I say. Sometimes I might bump something, knock something over. I might bump into a person. It's almost, I feel like I'm constantly apologizing to people because I just, it's just my reality, and it's what I have to do to live my life. I can tell you I am extremely grateful for my white cane. I didn't always feel that way. I was resistant to use it at first. As a matter of fact, it sat in my closet for a couple of years after I had my orientation and mobility training. The reason being, I felt that using it would put a target on my back. I felt like, if people knew that I couldn't see, by virtue of using a white cane, then it would make me an easy victim. So I would rather people just not understand why I would do some of the things I would do, like for example, before I started using my cane, when I would step off of a curb, I would put my hand out like it was an invisible force field to keep me from falling, because I couldn't judge the distance between the curb and the ground, beneath the curb, and my footing. My footing was always unsure because I had no depth perception. So, and a lot of blind people on the blindness spectrum, as Alexa had alluded to, it is very vast. There are people who have uh, some functional sight that's only light perception. There are people who may only see shadows. For me, measuring my vision now, I asked my doctor just recently, I said, what is my field of vision? Because my friends are always talking about, they have like a 5% or an 8% or a 10% residual vision. What is mine? And she looked at me and she said, well, you have no central vision. Glaucoma is attacking your peripheral vision. She said, there is no way for us to measure your field of vision. The way they measure my vision, because I can no longer see the eye chart, I haven't seen the eye chart in years. They wave their hands in front of me. Now with my left eye, I can count fingers from 4 feet distance. So I can count like 1 or 2 fingers, but any further than that, it just disappears. With my right eye, I can only see hand waving from 1 foot away. So that's just to give you an idea of what it is that I see. I can see colors, I can see movement, but I'm not able to determine what the movement is. So if it's a person or an animal, unless it's very close to me, I have a difficult time determining what it is that I'm looking at. So I hope that answers the question. I kind of feel like I veered off into another direction.
I love the flexibility. Thank you, Steph. I wondered, what's the difference then with you taking on the cane and what that was like? Did it feel empowering to you? If you kept it in the closet for a couple of years, but decided to take it out, what was that like? Did it take a month, a year, training yourself to feel comfort with it?
Well, I was trained twice to use the cane. It's highly recommended that you go through orientation and mobility training, which I did. The first time I did the training, I waited a couple of years before I took the cane out. The reason I took the cane out was because I almost got hit by a car. I had decided I was gonna, I was at work and I was hungry and I was gonna walk over to a little a pharmacy that I was familiar with, and I was familiar with the route. So I felt comfortable doing it on my own.
Yeah.
Coming back from the store, apparently, as I was crossing the street, the car fell within my blind spot. So I didn't see it. It beeped, scared the mess out of me. And that was what drove me to use the cane. So I cannot say definitively that I felt empowered using it. After that, it was more out of a sense of necessity. I had to get past myself and sort of my limiting beliefs. It took me a while to feel empowered. I think I felt empowered once I became involved in a couple of blindness organizations, local blindness organizations here at home. And then when I befriended several blind people, that was when things began to turn around for me. Because up until that point, I was under doctor's care. I had some rehabilitation and those types of things, but nobody could help me with the mental aspect of losing my sight. And I think that was far harder than the physical loss. I remember even looking for like a group, because I thought that I needed group therapy or something, but there was nothing. And my friends, family, coworkers, everyone tried so hard to help me, but they couldn't understand because this wasn't their story. So it was up to me to, do the research and find whatever it was I needed to find to help me. And what helped me was befriending other blind people.
That makes sense. Totally makes sense. Yeah, for sure. Steph, speaking to Bold Blind Beauty and your work that you're doing with Bold Blind Beauty and how you founded the company and your principles around that and how important that is to you as a blind woman. And as before we spoke as a Black woman as well, being recognized in society, right?
Yes.
I wondered if you could speak to all of the above.
Yeah, well, I founded Bold Blind Beauty purely to empower blind and low vision women. I needed it myself, and I felt if I needed it, surely there were others that needed it as well. I wanted blind and low vision women to be able to embrace their beauty. I wanted them to claim their power and break those barriers. I wanted them to feel confident. In our society, we have such a narrow view of what beauty is. And when I was thinking about Bold Blind Beauty and what I wanted to call it and what I envisioned it being, I was very intentional about the entire process, even the words bold, blind, beauty, bold. I chose bold because blind people who are out here living their lives, we have to be bold. We have to be bold to walk out that door each day with our canes, with our guide dogs. Some of us don't use either of those things, but yet we are making the conscious decision to live our lives. And that takes a certain amount of tenacity. Blind. I chose blind because I wanted to embrace the word. For me, like I said, the hardest part of losing my sight was that word blind and being blind. So I felt instead of being afraid of it, why not try to embrace it? So I chose the word blind, and I chose it too with the word beauty because in thinking about the word beauty, and we think that people who are blind or low vision have no idea what beauty is. Nothing could be further from the truth because beauty is not just one singular thing, and beauty can be experienced on a multitude of levels. So that was my reasoning behind choosing those particular three words, bold, blind, beauty, with the idea of empowering blind and low vision women. And as I said in the previous segment, today we're sharing the stories of people from around the world of all walks of life. And this year in 2021 specifically, we're featuring a lot more young adults, youth and young adults, because they are where our future is. And I have great hope in them in being able to break through some of these barriers that Bold Blind Beauty has started to break through. Air, accessibility, inclusion, representation. Those are things that are extremely important to Bold Blind Beauty because these are the things that we deal with as blind people or people with disabilities on a day-to-day basis. Everybody on the planet needs air to survive. People with disabilities need air not only to survive, but we need air to thrive. We do have value. I believe that everybody has value, but I want people who are temporarily able to understand that just because someone is different from, their experience doesn't mean that that person doesn't have value. People with disabilities have value, and we have abilities, we have capabilities, and nothing. I think I think I can say that with great surety because of the work that I'm doing. Being a blind woman, managing a website, I just recently launched a podcast, never done it before, but I did the research, set it up, and we're doing it. It's about just taking chances and putting yourself out there. So I hope I answered your question.
You sure did. Wow. That's awesome stuff. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Maybe I'll give you a moment to regroup. I'll talk to Alexa for a moment about Aille Design and the collaboration and messaging for the clothing line, and perhaps taking that internationally. I wonder if you could speak to that a little bit, Alexa, and how you are broadening that collaboration.
Of course. To start with the messaging that you just referenced. So one thing that's really important to us is that we make it very clear that these clothes can be worn by absolutely everyone. We're not looking to make clothes that are strictly for individuals with low sight and who can read Braille, but we're really creating these pieces to increase representation within fashion as a whole, to make sure that individuals with disabilities are included in these conversations, and also to be able to provide additional advocacy and just general awareness. So having the increased appearance of Braille starts to bring Braille and accessibility top of mind. It starts to make you think about how other different environments and other products that you might be using aren't currently accessible, and really just kind of challenges certain perceptions. So with making sure that these clothes are available to everyone, we're making sure that it's not clothes and then inclusive clothes. We're making sure that these are pieces that no longer silo a particular group. And I think that's really important. As Steph was mentioning, beauty is for everyone and everyone has value, and you shouldn't have to be targeted into one specific corner. There's no reason that accessible clothing can't be beautiful. And with products as a whole, if you just really take into consideration the end consumer, you can really sort of assume the needs and then work very closely to confirm what is needed and make a product that in the end is far superior and can truly benefit so many extra people. And so then with working with Steph, we're so grateful because she is located in the US that we've been now able to expand our network to working more closely with individuals who identify as being blind or visually impaired. We're able to work with communities within the US. It was actually through Steph that we began our partnership with the American Foundation for the Blind. A mutual friend, or now a mutual friend, but a good friend of Steph's, was at a photo shoot where we were doing a photo shoot exactly this day last year, which is really, cool to think about. Yeah, we were in New York City and we were doing a photo shoot with model Catherine Harrison, who also identifies as being visually impaired, and she's a big contributor to Bold Blind Beauty. And so we were doing a photo shoot with her, and Stephanie had Melody Goodspeed come to our photo shoot, and she is also another contributor of Bold Blind Beauty, but she also works for the American Foundation for the Blind. So that's where that relationship started to build, and we just connected instantly, and we're able to then build this partnership, which is incredible. And we were able to expand our reach that much more and reach really incredible people throughout the United States who are able to make real impact. So the American Foundation for the Blind has a large network of individuals. So we've been able to start working on a more international level there, and then being able to introduce us to other partners within the industry who are then international. Because to really make this a global level of change, we need to make sure that we're partnering with different companies and apparel groups that have that global recognition, that already have those large manufacturing capabilities and those audiences that completely trust in what they're doing and their vision. So to be able to partner with companies that do have this awareness, we're able to, at a much faster pace, emphasize the importance of inclusivity opposed to doing it as just a small company. So really being able to grow and increase that message. And to the other point is that blindness doesn't exist just in Canada. Blindness exists everywhere. Blindness does not discriminate against age, against gender, against race, or against geography. So really making sure that we're able to tackle this on a global level is so important. So we've also started working with a few individuals within the UK, and we're looking to expand as much as possible because this is something that is so important and for so long has been overlooked, and there's no reason that it can't start to change now. To Steph's point though, with the white cane, in all of our different interviews, and we've been working so closely with the community, it's been interesting the types of conversations that have come up with the white cane, and so much of that stigma that exists with the use of it, and not wanting to sort of be viewed as someone who's visually impaired and using that cane, which is just horrible. If something can actually help you, you should be able to use it with complete confidence. But what has also been really interesting is some of the individuals we've spoken to have mentioned that the use of the white cane is far less for them, but more so as a visual indicator to others to understand why certain things are happening, or to really respect the amount of space, even just walking down the street, not rushing by and trying to kind of cut corners, understanding that, oh, this person may have a bit of a blind spot. I'm not going to walk and cut them off very quickly. Like, I understand how this is working. But then also to the photo shoot that was a year ago with Catherine Harrison, when she started wearing or started using her white cane and she went to a mobility instructor, she felt it was very important to learn how to use her white cane while wearing stilettos. She has always been very interested in fashion. It's been a huge part of her life. And I thought it was really admirable that she was not about to change who she was as a person in any way because of her blindness. She was going to learn how to use that white cane while walking in these heels, something that most people can't do even without the cane or with full levels of sight. So I just felt it was really interesting, and having those levels of perspective, and to what Steph was saying earlier, how there's then other individuals who sort of question your perception of blindness, where, oh, well, if you're using this white cane and you have high heels, you must not actually be blind, or you must see something. So it's very, very interesting what the white cane can symbolize, and really just what our society really needs to learn about visual impairments and the spectrum, and the benefits of these various tools to be able to just allow everyone to be and live to their fullest.
Well, thank you very much, Alexa. Steph, did you want to jump in there?
Yeah, no, I think you summed it up very nicely. You know, especially with the use of the white cane, there's so much conversation about it. One of the other things, you know, I used to wear stilettos all the time as well. And when I when I first started losing my sight, I thought, well, maybe I should wear flat shoes because I think that's what everybody expects, you know. And you know, after a while, I had to ask myself, why am I doing this? I'm the one that lost my sight, you know, I'm the one that has to do this. So, and then I started just doing me, because that's what I felt comfortable with. But the other thing about the white cane is the customization of it. That was the one thing I forgot to mention, because I love bling. And I thought, if I have to use a white cane, I want to use it on my terms. So I wanted a cane that was either colorful or had bling on it. I just wanted something that represented me and looked like me. So I have an assortment of canes, different colors. I haven't quite figured out the whole bling thing yet, but I have some ideas. And I actually have a cane that has a wooden ball. Oh, the ball's actually right here, as a matter of fact. Some canes have a rolling ball. I don't know if you can see this. This
Definitely
particular ball was made by a friend of mine who is a blind sculptor. And I love it. And it's so smooth. I actually think that this might be a smoother cane to use, a ball to use, than a regular standard plastic ball that I would use on my white cane. But yeah, I love customization. A lot of people are against it because they think, well, it takes away from what the cane represents. And then, you know, for drivers, will they notice it? And my argument to that, I mean, I greatly respect, you know, other people's opinions, but my sort of, I don't want to call it an argument, but my differing opinion is that drivers aren't really paying attention anyway. Not just to the white cane, but to pedestrians, to anyone. Nobody's paying attention, even pedestrians, because we're all on our devices. And the statistics, if you look at the traffic statistics, fatalities, especially as it relates to pedestrians, they're just not doing their job. People behind the wheel, that is. They should be paying attention, and they definitely should be paying attention to people who have a cane or a guide dog, because we have that disadvantage of not being able to see the vehicle, especially with the vehicles that are quieter today. So I just wanted to throw that out there. Sorry if it was a little side
No,
thing.
that was very important. Yeah. Thanks. Thank you so much, Steph. I appreciate that. And we have a little bit more time in our program, and I wondered if we could speak to maybe your lines of product that you offer through Aille Design and Steph at Bold Blind Beauty, and educate our listeners and viewers a little bit more about your work and how they can reach you as well.
Of course.
Yeah.
So we started as a research project. So as we were testing the different fastening techniques and types of braille, etc., we were also testing different types of design. So we started with a collared shirt, then we tested a little bit with a black dress, then a denim jacket, a skirt, etc. There are so many different options. But then because we decided to not transform into a business until this past year, we felt it was most appropriate to launch with products for sale that were going to be as inclusive as possible and appropriate for our new COVID lifestyle. So we launched with 2 t-shirts, a black t-shirt and a white t-shirt. They're gender neutral sizing. And in the end, the t-shirt is the most inclusive piece out there. A t-shirt is something that everyone wears despite your disability, your age, your gender, anything. The t-shirt is a universal piece, can be dressed up, can be dressed down. So we launched with the black and white. All of the braille beading is with Swarovski crystal pearls. And on our black t-shirt, it says fashion is for everyone. And on our white t-shirt, it says my plain white tee. So it goes to the functional nature of what is this item, but doing it in a little bit of a fun, cheeky way. One thing that's really exciting though is that we just recently launched the option to do fully customizable text. So we have our black and white t-shirt, but you can actually choose what you want the braille to say. So you can provide us with a message and then we'll create the braille, and we can offer that as well on our mask. So because of COVID, we chose to create masks as well. So we've got a red, a blue, and a black, and those have the customization option, but the 2 original phrases that we chose are chin up, mask on, and I love your mask. So both in saying that we're going to get through this together. And with the I love your mask, it's really just respecting one another, thanking that other person that they're wearing a mask. I love your mask and I love that you're wearing a mask is really what it comes down to. And so those are the products that we currently have out now. It was just most appropriate for COVID, but in the coming years, we'll definitely expand our collection and increase with more fashion forward pieces. But that's currently what we have, and everything's available on our website, which is ailledesign.com.
Do you have a piece behind you, Alexa? Anything that?
Yes. So
yeah.
I've got the black t-shirt on, but I can actually show you.
No, yeah.
This is a close-up of our mask. So they're a fitted style and they have the adjustable ear straps. And then they all come with garment tags that explain exactly what the braille says. And
Oh, how
so
cool.
here's a close-up of what the braille looks like.
Mm-hmm.
And so they're fitted styles, they're very comfortable, and we made sure that all of the colors worked great with different racial skin tones. So these are going to look great on anyone. They're also gender neutral, and these are all made with within Toronto. They're all locally made with organic cotton and linen. So very comfortable, very sustainable, and very inclusive with our braille. So these are the products that we have right now.
Wow, that's awesome, Alexa. How long would it take to make a mask, for example, in terms of the beading?
So with the beading, had you asked at the very beginning of our research stages, I would have been embarrassed to say how long it was taking. It was a very lengthy process, but we've definitely gotten much faster. So with this particular design, with something that one of our predetermined phrases, I would say it now takes me about 10 minutes to do all of the beading. One thing that's really important to take into consideration when creating the beaded pieces is that the braille is only going to remain legible if the spacing and the sizing is accurate. So if any of these beads move ever so slightly, if they're maybe 1 or 2 millimeters off, it could read as an entirely different character. So making sure that these are done properly is really important. So quality control is essential when we're creating these products. And that was something that added to the lengthy times in those beginning stages as we were doing our different testing. It was so crucial that everything was done correctly. But if we do the customization, it's a little bit longer, having to figure out what it will say, what that unique spacing will look like. But yeah, that's roughly how long it takes.
Could you speak to how that was about learning how to do Braille?
Yes, so it was really interesting. I looked online quite a bit. I've recently been thinking about taking an official Braille transcription course to get my certification. But so it was really interesting to learn online. And there are a lot of tricks actually when it comes to learning Braille. So for example, letters A through J, they only use the top 4 dots within a Braille cell. So the way that Braille is created is there's a total of 6 dots. They go 2 across and 3 down, and the numbers go 1, 2, 3, and then 4, 5, 6, starting at the top again. So it's only those 1, 2, and 4, 5 dots that are used within those first set of characters. And then when you move to the remainder of the alphabet, that first set is actually completely repeated, but you're adding dot 3 to each letter. So there are little tricks that you can learn to memorize the Braille far more quickly. So I can read Braille by sight. Unfortunately, I can't read it by touch. I haven't been able to master that at all. But we did come into some confusion when we were learning the Braille. So another really interesting thing is that we add the paper Braille to a lot of our products. We make sure that all of our marketing materials can be accessible, and we have an option to include accessible packaging on our website. And so when we're adding the paper Braille, we use a tool which is called a slate and stylus. And so the paper gets inserted into your slate and you're punching in all of the holes. But then when you turn it over, you've got all of your raised holes, which means that all of the information has to be inputted backwards. So because some of the characters, there's only 6 dots, there's only so many different formations you can use. There are different letters that will end up mixing up when we're doing things visually, because we'll be so used to using the slate and stylus for our paper materials that it creates some confusion there. So a lot of practice is required, but that's what the Braille learning process has been like. It's very fun though.
Oh, that's really cool. That's awesome. Thank you for sharing that. I appreciate it. Steph, thank you. And Steph, could you speak to the Bold Blind Beauty and what it does? You blog as well, but what's happening with Bold Blind Beauty for our viewers before we head off today?
What's happening this year? We are so excited. We have 10 contributors, 10 regular contributors, as well as guest contributors, in addition to our regular features, which are, we have 4 each month. Regular features. So we have a lot of people who are providing content, which makes my job easier. So I'm mainly editing as opposed to producing content. We do have an online store component to Bold Blind Beauty where we sell mugs, coffee mugs, we sell t-shirts, hoodies, the little drawstring gym bags. And today I'm really excited because I just got my Braille mugs from a designer of mine. Now she does the Braille by hand. So it is a process, but I'll be taking some pictures and putting them up on our Bold Blind Beauty Facebook group. And those will be made to order because they are done by hand, but everything else can be ordered strictly from the site.
That is so cool. Wow. You might be interested. Actually, we're starting a Moksha Foundation in Los Angeles. So you may be interested in collaborating. Just something to keep in mind. We'll keep you posted for sure. Lots of things going on here. Yeah. Perhaps you might want to align yourself with the foundation for sure. I wonder, Carina, do you have any questions at all for our guests or Aille Maria?
I just wanted to say, I think both of your guys' story is really inspiring, and inspiring to me and Aille Maria. We're both actually members of a girl band called Girl Power, where we have social causes where we advocate for change. And so we'd really like to support your guys' brands and everything that you guys are doing. So definitely stay up to date on social media and everything like that.
That's awesome.
Oh my God, that's so wonderful. Thank you so much. We appreciate that.
And might I say, Carina also has a tie-dye t-shirt business as well. So definitely interesting to hear your stories for sure in terms of the clothing line, Alexa, for sure, and getting that off and running. I think, Carina, you're doing really well, right? Yeah.
Yeah, I just started it like during quarantine, but it's called To Die For Shop on Instagram. So yeah, if we like exchange Instagrams, we can follow each other and everything. That would be cool.
That's
To die
awesome.
for.
Absolutely.
That's so cool. And while the stuff's
It's a
looking
great name.
yeah,
That is a great name.
it sure is. Ida, Maria, did you want to ask a question of either Alexa or Steph? Sunil?
Oh yeah, I have one question. So when did you decide that you wanted to be in this business and start doing like fashion designing and start like doing clothing and start doing all those things?
So I've always loved fashion ever since I was a little girl. I would always be playing dress up in my mom's clothes. And I was really fortunate to know quite early on that I wanted to pursue fashion as a career. So it actually made the decision on which high school I was going to go to. So when I was in elementary school, I really knew that I wanted to be a fashion designer, that I wanted to go to Ryerson. And I'm originally from Niagara Falls, Ontario. And there is a high school called St. Paul. And I knew that in grade 11, they offered a sewing course. So if I went to St. Paul, I would learn how to sew and I would know how to make my portfolio pieces to get into university. So I found out very early on. I started a fashion sewing club where we would organize trips to go to Ryerson and see their annual fashion show. So it was a long time in the making, but you have so much time to figure out what it is that you want to do, and it's never too late to pivot. But I was really fortunate to find out really early on. And then when I went to university, that's when those dreams really started coming true. So it's really exciting to think back and reflect. I say quite often that that 10-year-old Alexa is freaking out that she's actually a fashion designer, especially last year when we got to go to New York City and be a part of a photo shoot with a model, and it was also official. So it's really cool to see it all come together. So work really hard, especially with your band. If you want to make music your future, don't give up.
That's really cool. Any questions at all, Sunil, at this point? Or
I just want to ask one thing. Like what I was thinking, it means the community is lacking about a lot of awareness about all the stuff what Stephanie was talking. We all have to come together to support, push, like all the communities, not us. Yeah, of course we're gonna do it. Like all the communities have to come and raise awareness about their problems, because nobody go into that depth. Like how they're like living and whatever the problems they're dealing. Everybody's have a problem in their lives, but some people have more, some people have less. Some people have something else, some people have some different kinds. So awareness, I think, is a lack of awareness, lack of information. People don't have that. A lot of things I learned. I know a lot of people, even when we do the diversity festival, we have a couple of singers. They're blind by birth, and they are good singers. So I help them going to America. The Got Talent. They're part of it now. They're working on it. Like so many people like that. A lot of people don't know. Like no support, like from anybody. I'm not talking about any government, anything. Like start from us, like within us, like communities. Then goes bigger, right? So I'm with you guys. We all are with you guys.
And it really is just that. It is, we're the circle of life. We're keeping the unit together, the support for each other, the shining light on each other, and all of the wonderful things that we bring to the table in our lives, in our families. And it really is that. I feel that energy, and I feel that we're making change. And it starts with ideas of someone who's a 10-year-old who's thinking they're going to be a fashion designer and making change, or Steph who's making change in her in life as a businesswoman to educate and hopefully enlighten people. I've really been thrilled to have you here today. And Steph, I just want to make sure people know where to get a hold of you. Just search out Bold Blind Beauty. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay.
I'm on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, Bold Blind Beauty, and websites boldblindbeauty.com.
Okay. And go ahead, Sunil.
And if people can't find her, contact us. We will give the information for her and for Aille Design. I'm right, right?
Thank you.
I,
Yes.
I'm thinking Aille Design.
Aille Design.
I love that. I love that. And so
I think Carina and Ida, you should make a song, something like this, something on this topic, because they're the songwriters, they're dancers, singers, a lot of things. So you should, work out on some song for Stephanie or something like this kind of topic.
Yeah,
Encouraging people,
Yeah, for sure.
And if you need a model, Stephanie's available.
nice. I love that. That's awesome. And get involved in the fashion show for sure, Alexa and Steph, for sure, for Moksha Canada Foundation. I know when that comes up, we'll also let you know about that. We've talked about it before in the past for other meetings. So that's definitely on the forefront. And I keep thinking about you for that. Love to tie that in. I truly want to thank you for being here today and being part of our second session as well. And thank you to Moksha Canada Foundation for allowing us to do this and shine light on our community, and Sunil Chan, and our founder, who has really made this possible today, because without you, it would not be happening. Thank you very, very much for that. Thank you to Alexa Jovanovic from Aille Design, Stephanie McCoy from Bold Blind Beauty, our wonderful guests for attending today. Follow Moksha Foundation on mokshacanada.com, and let us know if you have any ideas for future shows upcoming. See you in the next session. My name is Lynn McCoy. It's been wonderful to have you.
Thank you, Stephanie.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Carina. Ida.
Thank you all.